I was scammed on LinkedIn again. My name is David, and this is Intrusive Thoughts. Over a month ago, I made a video in which I explained how I was scammed on LinkedIn, and I explained in the video that one of my hobbies is talking with scammers on LinkedIn. There are a lot of different scammers that try to use social engineering and also software engineering to steal your data, steal your passwords, steal your cryptocurrencies, whatever you have on your computer. I have talked to dozens of scammers, and since last year, the scams are getting more and more sophisticated. And today I'm going to talk about the scam I fell into today, how it was, how was the whole interaction, how these scams used to work, how they are working nowadays, and what you can do to prevent yourself from getting scammed as well. So yesterday I received a message on LinkedIn from a recruiter, and she asked me if I was open to discussing a position in this AI powered company, in which I was. So I talked to her. She explained me what the role was. She explained me what they were looking for. She asked me for a CV, and then I sent my website, which I usually do. My website has all the information somebody that might want to hire me needs. All my past working experiences, some stuff about me personally, events I attended to, events I represented clients, and awards I won, etc. So it's pretty complete. It has everything. I'm used to sending my website to people, and sometimes when I do that, they instantly reply saying, "Perfect, you are the perfect candidate for the position." And then I already know it's a scam because the person didn't even check the website, right? But in this case, she took a while to reply back, so we move forward with the discussion. She explained to me that I would need to apply through the company's website, which is something some companies do. Some companies hire these recruiters, do headhunting, and then whenever they find somebody, they ask the person to actually apply through the company's website. And then I did that. The company had a website. The company had a LinkedIn. It had a substantial amount of followers and people working in the company. They had a GitHub account for the organization. Everything seemed fine. And then, next step, I applied on the company's website. I filled out all the information they requested about the job description. They asked for previous similar work experiences and whatnot. I did everything. And then this was in the morning. And then at night, I received an email asking me to join their Slack for the next phase, which would be a technical interview with their technical leader and their CTO. This is normal. This is what usually happens when you're joining a startup for a technical position. They ask the CTO, a technical leader, a project manager, whatever, to join this call and talk to you about your past experiences. They ask some questions about their current project, the project they're working on, and ask you to solve some of the issues they might be having or they had, to see how you work, to see how you think. So that was normal. I already did that in the past for actual companies, and this time I did I did it. The Slack invite was legit. They actually had a Slack channel which had people there with normal names. Some people had pictures, some people didn't. It looked like a real Slack channel from a startup, a small startup. It had like 10 to 12 people in there. And then once I joined, I only had access to one channel, which was a channel for people that were in the hiring process. So it had a description, hey, if you joined through the hiring process, talk to our bot, and then to figure out the next steps, right? One red flag already was that this message was on the general channel or a specific hiring channel, you could say, and then it had only the position I applied to, which was blockchain developer. The other positions, which were they had a product manager, they had mobile developer positions, they had AI engineer positions. None of them were mentioned in that message, which could be fine or might be, and it wasn't the case, the first red flag I noticed. But then I wanted to move on, like I usually do. I talked to the robot. The robot asked me if I was ready to take the technical interview, and then I was. So he created a new group chat with me, the technical leader, and the CTO. None of them were online. I'm at a different time zone than I'm 3 hours ahead of San Francisco, so it's usually fine that in the mornings people are not online yet. So I waited a little bit, and then the technical leader joined and started asking me a bunch of different questions about past working experience. He asked me to introduce myself. In the middle of our conversation, after I replied to a few questions, the CTO arrived in the group chat, and the CTO asked him to recap what was going on. And okay, everything was already weird because why aren't we talking in a call? Why are we just sending text messages? That was weird, but okay. And then the CTO came. He asked the guy to ask me more specific questions about the project itself, which was weird. Like, if you are the CTO and you're joining a group chat with a recruiter, what, like, and me, why aren't you talking to me instead of talking to the guy? Like, that was weird, but fine. And then he did. He asked me super specific questions about the project they were working on. The questions themselves were okay, they were fine. They were questions people that were working on those types of projects would ask me if I was applying to a position like that. And so I replied to those questions, and then I arrived at the part where all the scams actually happen, which is the can you run our GitHub repo and do X, Y, and Z for us? So how does this usually happens or usually happen in the past was I used to talk to people on LinkedIn. They would send on LinkedIn the GitHub repo and they would ask me to run and take notes, prepare for a call, or in the beginning even they would join a call, and then during the call, the interview, they would send me the repo and ask me to run there. This is a social engineering technique to create pressure on you to run the repository, and I never did. I always had a virtual machine ready for these situations because I have experience working on with blockchain, working on crypto, and I already know that there are a lot of scammers out there trying to steal your coins, your tokens, your passwords, whatever. So I already have a virtual machine ready for that situation. But everything got much better after AI advanced to a level where I can just clone the repo and AI analyzes everything for me. I don't need to check it manually because this is how I used to do. So I downloaded the code, and the first thing you need to be careful with when you download a GitHub repo, you're just downloading files, right? You're not executing anything. And it's really important that you never run, never install a package, never do anything before taking a look at the dependencies file. The dependencies file, usually a package.json file, that contains the packages used in the project and the instructions that you are able to run. One red flag I found in the past was a rewrite of the prepare function, which basically means that a user can execute a piece of code from their software when you install the packages. So prepare is a keyword that is used when you're installing a package, and if you override that, you can make it do whatever you want it to do, which is what the scammers used to do. So whenever people install the packages from the repository, they're already scammed. And this used to happen back in the day. Currently, they're not doing that so much. What they are doing, which is what happened in this situation this morning, were that they cloned 3 big packages that are used by thousands and thousands of people. They upload this package to the Node package manager, and they change, like, it's the same readme, the same instructions, the same code, apart from like a single line that changes, like a call, a specific call inside one of the repositories. And then basically summarizing, it enables them to run code remotely on our computer. And currently it's really, really easy to figure that out because you can just put the code on Claude, use Codex, whichever AI you use, and then just say, hey, this is a LinkedIn, this is probably a LinkedIn scam GitHub repo. Check for malicious code. Don't run anything. Don't install anything. Be careful. And then it will check stuff for you. And this is what I do. This is what I did. And this is what I did today. And I found out the 3 malicious packages. I reported them on NPM, and I also reported the organization on GitHub, which I always do. But I always like to act naive when I found malicious code in these repositories, and it's really funny to see how they react when they see that I'm being naive. And what I mean by that is I don't say, hey, this is malicious code, you're trying to scam me. I never do that. What I do is I say, hey, somebody must have accidentally used a malicious npm package. Sometimes I say where the issue is. Sometimes I don't say to see if they will say anything about it. And in this situation, I said, "Hey, this is the line. This is what's been going on. This package is not safe. You should try to fix it before anyone else runs it. I won't run it. Once you fix it, let me know." And then this guy said, "I'm sorry, no, this might be wrong. You might be wrong because we are very serious about our security. But I'll take a look. Whatever." 5 minutes later, he was like, "Yeah, developer of ours must have pushed this code accidentally. We're not sure who he was." The thing is, all the code from all the repositories in the organization, all the code from all the repositories, which is an organization from 2018, were pushed by one developer, one GitHub account, all of them. And I checked before I send him a message. Before I even clone the repository, I like to check the whole organization. There was an instance where I found one of these repositories had an issue from another developer who was cursing at the at the guy because he was a scammer, and the scammer left the issue open there, and I was in the call. I was sharing my screen and I showed him, I put the like in full screen the issue, cursing at him, and he didn't say anything. He was just mute, like he didn't say anything until I changed screens and we moved on. But yeah, this was funny. And in the end of the day, I only got scammed out of my time. But I'm warning you guys to be careful out there because LinkedIn is full of scammers, especially aiming at software developers. So be careful. And that's it. This is my intrusive thought of today. Bye.